Hi everyone, my name is Ariadne Papadopoulos and I'm a third-year student here at the University of Toronto. The topic I chose to do was Gen Z's and Millennials' perceptions of happiness and success. Let's dig in. Okay, so here is the agenda. We're going to be first looking at the research question, then the hypothesis, why I thought it was important, previous assumptions I had, how I conducted my research, my findings versus my previous research, my surprising findings, and my key takeaways. Let's begin. Okay, so my question was, how does Generation Z and Millennials perceive success and happiness? Let's figure out how. So my hypothesis on this was that Gen Z and Millennials both did prioritize financial stability and job advancements. However, they put more emphasis and priority on things like mental health, work-life balance, personal fulfillment, and making happiness an essential component of success. So why is this topic important and why is it important to relate to you? Starting on a personal note, I am a Gen Z. I'm in my undergrad like a lot of us, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my life like a lot of us, as well as trying to figure out what to get out of this life. I think that by understanding how success and happiness are defined in my generation, I'm able to kind of paint and pave a way of how I want the rest of my life to look like. And I'm sure that is a question a lot of Gen Zs do have in terms of where they want to be and how they want to get there. But on a logistic sense, I think it's important to understand that there is a shift in the definitions of success and happiness, with more priority on mental health and a work-life balance instead of traditional material wealth. I think that there are workplace and career adaptations that could be made with kind of taking all these into account, that there's a new shift on mental health and work-life balance that can also encourage employers to acknowledge this and kind of increase the job satisfaction and productivity of Gen Zs and Millennials, as well as the social impact that this could have in the work environment. Along with that, mental health awareness is a big thing. By acknowledging that there's mental health awareness and increased mental health awareness, you're also able to see that it impacts our happiness and our success and what we deem as valuable, because we're focusing on our mental and what we are feeling, not only as a generation, but as individuals as well. And then as well as that, you're also able to see the economic and social implications, with being that a lot of our goals and dreams are also influenced by the financial security and economic issues that we have going on in the world, whether that is housing expenses, student loans and student debt, and employment issues. I think we're able to see how those correspond to our redefinition of happiness and success. So I kind of touched on this in my last slide, but I want to talk about the previous assumptions I believed before going into my research. I believed that Gen Zs and Millennials were dreaming of a Hollywood lifestyle, meaning because we're on our phones a lot and we're always on social media like Instagram and TikTok and those outlets, we're constantly seeing the highlights of influencers' lives, meaning we're always seeing the nice outfits, the nice cars, the parties, they look like they're living stress-free lives, but also doing nothing in terms of work. And I believe that a lot of us were trying to attain that goal. Secondly, I thought we preferred a traditional 9-to-5 over finding multiple streams of income, because I honestly thought that we were trying to just get it through and not really care about our lives, our work lives, and just focus on our happiness. Another thing that I believed is that their careers were just as important as their happiness, meaning choosing a career and getting into the field you want to get in was what made you happy instead of the things that you would do outside of your career. Let's see what I actually found out. Before I get into my findings, I want to talk about how I conducted my research and who participated in it. I had uploaded my questionnaire to my Instagram account story twice, meaning that it was up for 48 hours. Within those 48 hours, 86 people had completed my questionnaire, with those 86 people being 84% were Gen Zs, 15% were Millennials, 71% identified as a woman, 29% identified as a man, 63% of people had completed high school with their highest level of education, while 37% had completed higher than high school, meaning some had completed college diplomas, some had completed bachelor's, and some had completed PhDs and masters. And of those 86 people, 73% were employed. So here are my findings. On this page, you're going to see the top results of some of the questions I had asked in my questionnaire. The first question I had asked is, how do you define success? And I asked my respondents to choose their top 3 reasons. In number 1, the thing that they defined success with the most was personal fulfillment. In second place, they chose strong friendships and relationships, with 81% saying that. And in third place, with 74% of respondents clicking this option, they chose financial stability. The next question I had asked is, how do you define happiness? And again, I chose them to choose the top 3. In number 1, with 83% of respondents choosing this, they chose mental and emotional well-being is how they defined happiness. In second place, with 58% of respondents choosing this, they chose being comfortable within myself. And in third place, with 53% of respondents selecting this option, they said social connections is what they defined as happiness. The next question I had asked is, which of the following contributes most to your sense of happiness? And I got my respondents to only select 1. 50% of my respondents chose spending time with loved ones contributes most to their happiness. The next question I had asked, which was 2 separate questions, was, do you believe that your generation's perception of happiness is different from older generations? I also asked, do you believe your generation's perception of success is different from older generations? This answer was almost the exact same, with 88% of respondents believing that their generation's perception of happiness and success are different than the older ones and previous ones. The next question I had asked is, how comfortable are you discussing your mental health with others? And I had gotten to rate their level of comfort from 1 to 5. 55% of respondents were between a 1 and a 3, meaning that they were not comfortable discussing their mental health with others. Next, I had asked the question, do you think mental health support systems are important for achieving success and happiness? Overall, 87% of people agreed with the notion that mental health systems are important for achieving happiness and success, with specifically 46% agreeing strongly, 38% just agreeing, and the remainder of the people were neutral to this statement. Next question I had asked them is, what external factors most impact their views on happiness and success? The number 1 reason was family expectations, with 83% of respondents choosing that. Lastly, I had asked, regarding prioritizing experiences like travel, creative, and personal growth versus material possessions, which statement is most true for them? And with 72%, they chose that they prioritize experiences. So now I want to talk about my findings versus the previous research I had done and how it aligns with each other or contrasts. These findings from the questionnaire provide a strong indication that Gen Zs and Millennials perceive success and happiness differently. A significant 88% of respondents agreed that their generation's perception of success and happiness differs from older generations, with the top 3 reasons being 58% believing it is an increased mental health awareness, 44% believing that it's a preference for multiple streams of income over a 9-to-5 traditional job, and 40% saying that there is a stronger focus on personal fulfillment over societal expectations. These findings align with the existing research, particularly studies done by Kahn in 2024 and Made and Naiyak, also done in 2024, which suggest that Gen Z is more concerned with mental health, well-being, and work-life balance than previous generations. The results of my findings also highlights the generational shift towards valuing experiences and mindfulness and personal fulfillment over external material wealth, which is a trend that is supported by studies done by Wande in 2024 and Mickler in 2022. When asked what aspect of their job career most contributes to their success, to their sense of success, 31.4% of respondents chose the impact and purpose of their work, followed by 29.1% selecting salary and benefits, and 20% identifying work environment and culture. This supports research done by Clifton and Hynowski in 2024, which found that Gen Z prioritizes meaningful work and personal fulfillment over purely financial incentives. Additionally, when respondents were asked what contributes most to their happiness, 50% stated spending time with their loved ones, and 20.9% said having a purpose-driven life, and 14% said achieving their goals. These findings also reinforce the idea that while financial stability remains important, younger generations are increasingly prioritizing social connections and intrinsic fulfillment. So here are some of my surprising finds. Just looking at these two graphs, you can see that on the right-hand side, there is a more consistent answer versus the left-hand side, the answers are much more distributed through the answer pool I had given. On the left-hand side with the various answers, we had what aspect of your job career most contributes to your sense of success. And on the right-hand side, which was more consistent, was which of the following contributes most to your sense of happiness. Judging these two graphs, I'm able to understand that Gen Z has a more clear and concise approach to defining and what contributes most to their sense of happiness, whereas we are much more dispersed amongst the what contributes most in terms of success in our career lives. So in my questionnaire, I had also asked two fun questions, you could say, where I had asked which statement they agree most with. Number 1 being happiness is success, and number 2 being success is happiness. Overwhelming, almost 3/4 of my respondents had said that happiness is success, meaning that in terms of getting success and achieving success, you need to be happy. And the two kind of already go hand in hand, but if you're happy, you're successful. But if you're successful, you might not be happy, which I found that really interesting. And then another question I had asked is when reading the phrase, to live a life of luxury, which do you personally associate most with? This I found really shocking because I had put the conventional definition of luxury, meaning like fast cars, high-end fashion, fast-paced life, like luxurious items. And then I had also put a slow-paced, quiet morning, like your simplicity, like finding the good in everything, that kind of idea. And majority of my respondents had also chosen the slow pace option, which kind of redefines what luxury really means at the end of the day. So this question I had found rather surprising, the results of it. And I had asked, would you rather a large house with a mortgage that you'll pay off in 20 years or a small house with no mortgage that you must live in for 20 years? Before getting the results of this question, I had honestly thought people would choose a large house that they would have to pay off in 20 years. The reason why is because you're already living in a large house, a luxurious house that's big and you have lots of space to do whatever you want in it. However, with most people choosing, almost 62% choosing a small home with no mortgage, shows that there's kind of a shift away from material possessions and fine goods amongst Gen Zs than there is from previous generations. Once again, redefining what we deem as quality in our lives. And finally, my key takeaways. I had learned that Gen Zs and Millennials are more attracted to lead a life that is slow-paced and holistic, which settles the argument of Gen Zs wanting to live a calmer and simpler life than older generations. Another thing I determined was that Gen Zs and Millennials want to work to live instead of living to work, which steers away from that traditional 9-to-5 life where you're making enough to supply for yourself and that's it. And lastly, we're redefining what luxury and fulfillment looks like and more importantly, feels like. Meaning that we're putting a new definition on what we deem as valuable in our lives as to previous generations, kind of straying away from material possessions and focusing on what we feel. And the way we feel determines how luxurious our life may be. Thank you guys for listening to my presentation. I hope that my presentation has helped you define what your happiness and success looks like. Have a great day.